Hello.
Hello. Hi guys, we got it right.
That was a smooth
That was a
AF
smooth
intro.
transition. I think you might have done it a little bit too early though.
Better early than a stilted like every episode begins, but I think we got there. Finally got there.
Well, welcome back. We are finally here on a Monday for once, on time. But then Jake is traveling next week, so
I am indeed.
next week's show is going to be delayed, unfortunately. But we recorded late last week, and we're recording early this week, so think of it as like kind of a double bill, kind of for you. But yeah, Jake's going to Copenhagen, or where is it you're
Off
going?
to Scandyland.
Yeah,
Off
this is your first time off to Scandinavia, isn't it?
It is indeed, and I'm managing to do like fucking 2 countries in like a week or a week and a half or so. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It should be really cool.
Where is it that you're going again? Sorry, I forgot.
Sweden and then Denmark.
Nice.
So yeah, be cool.
Nice.
Be
Are you
interesting.
looking forward to it?
Oh, definitely. It should be really interesting. Like, I want to try and get some film before I go out there, so I can take some pics and stuff. But it should be interesting.
Take some pictures of Copenhagen.
Yeah, and
for
like
the album.
where is it in Sweden? I think it's Malmo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going in Sweden, so yeah. I mean, I've always wanted to go to those places, but
It sucks that it's a work trip.
Yeah,
though,
it's like one of those things, isn't it? Like, you know, I always wanted to see Miami, and like I got to through work. But, like, I don't know when on earth I would have been able to be in South Beach in Miami. Not until I'm like in my 50s, you know, in the current economic state of things. So like, I'm glad I got to do that.
You got to do that. You got to stare at butts on the beach for a whole week.
You don't have to go to the beach, bro. It's just like on the street,
on
like
the
wherever
street,
you're going, in the coffee shops, everywhere.
I've been able to come with you on some of your work trips, like the ones that are longer, where it's worth it, where you can book time before.
Yeah,
and
there's a
then,
couple
like,
where it's been in.
Yeah, where it's like intersected or whatever. But like, I don't know. I don't like being with you on your work trips because like we'll have like a week of fun and just Angie and Jake shenanigans, and then all of a sudden you turn into a corpo.
Well, no, but then
you get all business minded
I'm
and weird, and it's like ew, go away, gross.
I'm also not gonna lie. I enjoy obviously you coming for the week before I have to do work things, but I don't particularly enjoy knowing that you're like waiting for me to finish whatever I'm doing to come back and like entertain you when I'm like when I've also then got pressure from the other side to sort of like out and socialize with all my work colleagues because you know we're like in this like foreign place.
I don't put any pressure on you, and also I'm like a great dinner
soft
guest.
Pressure. It's like a soft womanly pressure. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, how could you? You didn't miss me. You know, like,
I'm not like that. I'm not a clingy BPD girlfriend. I promise. But like, no, I'm a great dinner guest too. You take me out, I charm your colleagues. Like it's a win-win situation. Like
you are indeed.
2 birds with 1 stone. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't come to Scandi with you this time.
No.
But we should plan a trip up there. We have done so many other parts of Europe, but we just never go up to the north for some reason. Like I've passed through Reykjavik before on my way somewhere else, but I didn't actually get to see Iceland or whatever. But it's so cheap to get over there from here. Like really, really cheap.
It's not too bad. It was like what, like nearly 200 quid, or
yeah, it's like 300
quid.
Yeah,
but that's also like, you know, on a good day on a sale, that's what you get a flight to like the east coast of America for that as well.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's also like context. It's really not that cheap, but like you know,
it's cheap.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm like missing out or I'm just like I'm not looking in the right places. But I feel like the days are kind of a little bit gone of where you could kind of blag like an actual weekend flight for like 25 quid return to like, you know,
you can still do that, but it's like there's this one place I found, but it's like random places in Europe. It's cheap flights, but it depends on where they have that week, basically. So but maybe it'll be like Croatia 1 week,
like a Wednesday
or like
to a Friday or something like this, like in the middle of the week.
Yeah,
it's not like, you know, like a weekend getaway.
No.
You used to. That's what I'm saying. You used to be able to do that kind of stuff on a weekend where you're like, oh yeah, fuck it, like just there and just grab a hotel or whatever. Then fuck it, we'll just come back for work on Monday. But like now, like I don't know if those deals have just disappeared or if it's like in the aid of in the environment or whatever to sort of like keep those sorts of deals away so that people aren't just flying willy-nilly around the place.
Take them away from Jake.
I feel like they should bring airships back, mate.
What, the blimps?
Yeah.
I would never go in one of those.
I feel like they should bring airships back, and you should have like a nice, like, you know, well, I don't know, it would be different. It would be a different culture and society, wouldn't it? Where you could like take 2 months off and then take like an airship to India. And then, like, you know, spend 2 weeks like
with the
flying,
Maharaja.
Yeah, spend 2 weeks like flying in luxury
like,
on an airship.
Fancy dates.
And then you get to India, spend a month in India, like fucking, you know, chilling, doing all sorts of crazy spiritual shit, and then fucking get a nice airship back.
Take another 2 months.
2 weeks.
Is that how long?
I feel like a 2 week travel. If you can get it down to that, like you get from like UK or Europe, and in 2 weeks you get to China or fucking America or India. That's like a good amount of time. And then, you know, a month in the place and then 2 weeks back.
What's it called? The famous blimp accident video.
Oh, that was
from
years ago.
1920s or whatever. No, but that's like one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen. Like, the humanity.
I mean, you've not seen a lot of terrifying things on the internet.
No, I'm quite innocent, and I like to keep it that way. Like, I don't go around searching for things to damage my mind with.
Those things, but
yeah, you do. It's people's morbid curiosity that leads them there. Like, I've never seen Two Girls, One Cup. Like, I'm proud to say I've never seen it. I will never see it. No, why the fuck would I want to watch that? I already know what it is.
It's not that you want to. It's more like, you know, I feel like
you're morbidly curious and sick and weird.
I don't know.
Thank you.
I feel like, you know, like our generation, which I would include like my brothers and stuff, which are like, you know, 7 or 8, nearly 10 years older than me.
My brothers
like,
too.
Within that time frame, like for me, that I was 12, 13 when that video kind of went viral and stuff, and Serbian film and like all of the really grim shit on the internet was kind of like really going off.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like it wouldn't be like you would go and find it on your own unless you were some kind of fucking sick fuck. But like it would be like you were at a friend's house or something, and then that came up of like, oh, people have been talking about this thing, and then like someone's like, yeah, I've actually got it open on a tab here, do you want to watch it? And then you're like, no, like, you're a fucking pussy. And then you watch it and you're like, okay, that was fucking disgusting.
Well, I'm so sensitive I couldn't even handle the blimp
it's always
footage.
A bit of social pressure, good old fashioned teenage social pressure. It's not like I'm fucking looking up those videos for me.
Sure.
Definitely not. That's definitely like a fucking a dare situation. It's not fucking, oh yeah, I'm enjoying this.
Well, I'm so sensitive that the blimp video fucked me up. Just like imagining such a catastrophic event, like before the advent of like proper media. You haven't
seen the tests of basically one of the last nuclear tests where they wanted to see what would happen if like a nuclear tsunami would happen, essentially.
Oh my god.
So they fucking detonated this bomb like underwater, like off the coast of it was obviously America somewhere. I think it was like the Pacific Islands and stuff, like near Hawaii and all those kinds of places. And fucking you just see this fucking huge explosion happen in the water, and just gradually this fucking huge thing just sort of starts coming and coming. It's just like god, absolutely insane. It's like it would be like, I would imagine what it would look like if Godzilla was coming out of the ocean. That's kind of
or if
exactly.
Cthulhu is finally rising.
That's exactly what I would imagine the ocean would look like in that situation.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, I'm so sensitive. I couldn't handle the blimp footage. Like, it really upset me, especially hearing the news reporter at the end shouting the humanity. It's just like. Yo, this is pretty brutal. But speaking of objects in the sky, we're going to be circling back to UFOs today.
Different kind of airship.
Yeah, it kind of bleeds into a lot of the AI stuff that we were talking about last week, but we're going to get there. But before we get there, some housekeeping, because I always forget to do housekeeping. But I think we should take ourselves a little bit more seriously and like actually like
what is that?
Plug the show.
What do you mean plug the show? We're doing the show.
I know, but we have to like say things like subscribe.
You're watching the show.
And all of that stuff. So first of all, Anchor episodes are up, because I know a lot of people were asking, why aren't the Anchor episodes up? Well, we were having issues with OBS, so we
We figured it out.
We figured it out. It took a while, but we figured it out. So those are up now, and they're going to be uploaded like as soon as the episodes are out properly and stuff. So you can listen on Anchor as well if you want to catch us after.
Or on Spotify.
Or on Spotify or Apple, everywhere else.
We're
everywhere. And then also, don't forget to subscribe to Mystic in the Machine. Ring the bell so that you can get notified when we go live. if you like listening to us live, the best way to get notified when we go live is to ring the bell and to subscribe and leave comments, do all that stuff. It helps us out. And I like always forget to ask for this shit, so just like bear it in mind. I
feel like I'm too based to ask for that. I feel like
I'm too cool.
if you were going to do that stuff, you would do that stuff. I don't necessarily need
but
to
then you have
tell
to do
you to do
you
that
gotta
stuff.
do your due diligence.
You're a
and
grown
ask.
up using the internet. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't.
But everybody
feel like...
else asks, so you have to do your due diligence
Some people
and
don't.
ask.
Some people don't.
Who do you know that doesn't?
Josh Dreyfus doesn't.
Who the fuck is that?
He's
like, what?
He's an MMORPG streamer who talks mostly about
lame.
RuneScape.
That sounds
but
lame.
Also about the philosophy
sweaty.
of games and game design in general.
That sounds terrible.
And he doesn't, because he understands.
Because he's the cool guy. He's Jake's new man crush.
No,
or whatever.
but like he understands that there are fucking adults watching his show and that they know how to press buttons.
Are you saying that I shouldn't do the plugs? I feel like everyone else does it, so like you should.
Yeah, not only that, like
it.
fucking, when you watch clips of like your most hated person on the internet, Moist Critical, he's not there like because he's like fucking. You watch the clip, if you like the fucking clip, you do the fucking thing. I'm not going to tell you to do shit because you know what YouTube is. You're not fucking retarded.
Don't slander me. Moist Critical is not my most hated. I just like find his affect irritating or whatever. Why do you think I hate him the most?
I don't know.
There are way more people who are even more worthy.
Whenever I watch a clip of
because it's like, why are you watching
really
this 12-year-old? Like,
he's not 12. He's like our age.
He's not our age. He's not
like
our
27 or 29 or
no,
something.
he's not. He's not fucking our age.
He is.
He's not our age.
He is.
He's definitely not our age, dude. But that's the only reason why. It's like, why are you watching this like sarcastic like child or whatever? It's just weird.
That's the whole vibe of like most streamers, I guess. And the ones I don't really I only watch a couple clips of him when he talks about something topical. But like ones I watch aren't that sort of sarcastic shitlordy vibe.
Can I do one more plug? Without you like if it's like cringing at me.
If it's not subscribe and whatever to this show, absolutely.
Well, we also have a book club as well.
Yeah, our Discord. Come and join our Discord. Absolutely, that's something that you wouldn't necessarily know about unless you actually followed the links and did all the stuff. So yeah, come and join the Discord.
Come join us.
We read philosophical books and such. And
we're reading the Tao Te Ching at the moment. We do it every Sunday. Come join us. Book club is good for your soul. Seriously, we explore a lot of stuff in depth. It's really great. So come join us, and you can do that by finding us on Patreon. But yeah, let's dive into the show before Jake decides to rage quit. I didn't know you were so anti-plug.
Well, it's just like, I don't know.
Everyone has to promote themselves, like
within your own stuff. Like, it just feels silly to me. But maybe
it's internet convention or whatever.
Every marketing person will tell you the exact thing that press the doobly-doo, and you're like, no. There's lots of people that are very successful that don't need to do that, and they just make fun stuff and they just do it.
Yeah, you're right.
Because they trust that people are fucking watching, and if they give a shit, they'll do the fucking thing. And
yeah.
Just treat them with fucking more like instead
it's
of
true.
You caught my ear and you said subscribe, let me like wander my mouse and now press it because you said so. Like, I don't know if it works.
I mean, it's never worked for me. Like, I've never, the only reason I would like and subscribe is if I'm genuinely passionate about that person or want access to something they're offering or
exactly
whatever.
So why would you go through with the farce of
I don't know, because everyone else does it.
Exactly,
everyone else fucking seems to. I thought I was doing something wrong or whatever.
No, you're not. Like, you fucking just shit, man.
All right, okay.
Like, this is a fucking live in public vibe more than a fucking structured YouTube fucking thingy. Do you know what I mean?
I won't do any more plugs. I think we should do book club plug, because book club plug is important. But we won't do any of the other stuff. But this is the last time. This is the last time I'll mention it. If you want to stay notified for when we go live, click the button. But anyway, let's move into the show. We're going to be talking about UFOs today, and circling back around to that topic since we've done it a couple of times before, once or twice, I think. I think it was
the show is mostly about UFOs and AI.
Yeah, well,
but
not
that's
really.
Okay.
Not really.
Like, they are very compelling topics.
We're going to cover other stuff.
And they're ever-evolving stories that are developing as we speak.
Massively.
They are probably the biggest, and this is kind of why they're linked as well, is that they are kind of the biggest existential kind of things in modernity. Mm-hmm. In lots of ways. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're going to get into this.
Yeah, so first of all, one of my big recommendations for everyone, And this might be one we actually do for book club, but it depends on if people vote for it when we go around to voting for the next book club. But I'm just pulling it up. So yeah, this is sorry, 2 seconds. This is Carl Jung's essay, Flying Saucers, a Modern Myth of Things Seen in the Skies. And I'm just going to read like a quote from it and the synopsis to you, because it's like pretty long. It's really good though, and there's like a lot of really great information in there. So I highly recommend that if you're interested in this topic and kind of like
this is my next book that I'm like, I want to read.
It's at Watkins. So, it's cheap there.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy it for you as soon as I get paid at the end of the month. I'm going to go to Watkins and I'm going to
finish Walden.
Buy a bunch of books.
I got to do my Walden, and then I got to do
I finished Walden.
I know, good for you. But I want to finish
it. Thanks a lot. But we can swap, because I want to read the Robert Anton Wilson book that you've been reading or whatever. But I've got like a huge book haul that I want to go to Watkins, but I got to wait to get paid. But yeah, we can go get it from Watkins. But yeah, so there's if you're really interested in the topic of UFOs, especially from sort of a psychological perspective, I highly recommend this book. So I'm going to read a quote and sort of a synopsis. So this is a quote from Jung in the book. In the threatening situation of the world today, when people are beginning to see that everything is at stake, the projection creating fantasy soars beyond the realm of earthly organizations and the powers into the heavens, into interstellar space, where the rulers of human fate, the gods, once had their abode in the planets. Even people who would never have thought that a religious problem could be a serious matter that concerned them personally are beginning to ask themselves fundamental questions. Under these circumstances, it would be not at all surprising if those sections of the community who ask themselves nothing were visited by visions by a widespread myth, seriously believed in by some and rejected as absurd by others. Carl Jung. And then just sort of the synopsis of the book is Jung's primary concern in Flying Saucers is not with the reality or unreality of UFOs, but with their psychic aspect. Rather than speculate about their possible nature and extraterrestrial origin as alleged spacecraft, he asked what it may signify that these phenomena, whether real or imagined, are seen in such numbers just at a time when humankind is menaced as ever before in history.
Never before in history,
sorry. The UFOs represent, in Jung's phrase, a modern myth. So yeah, like this book kind of goes into Jung's idea of UFOs as a modern myth, as a form of like secular spirituality. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the title of this episode, is like The Return of the Gods, Secular Spirituality Part 2. Kind of ties into what we were talking about last week with AI. Mm-hmm. being a new form of secular spirituality, and we're seeing this sort of thing reemerge again with like UFOs and how much it's been swirling around the zeitgeist. I mean, we just pulled up an article this year alone. There's been like how many, like 350 sightings and reports. It seems as if sightings and reports are ever increasing. There's a lot more government talk around it, a lot more news stories around it, and also a ton of new kind of belief systems and reality tunnels that are springing up around this concept as well. So yeah, I guess today we're going to go through some of the primary like paranoias, quote unquote, that this is representing, like both the shadow side of this archetype that's coming out and the positive side of it. But yeah, should we pull up the CNN article?
Give me a second.
2 seconds.
There we go.
Here we go. So this footage. The actual headline of the article is the government has received more than 350 new UFO reports. And this was in January.
Yeah, so like, January. There's going to be a lot more since then.
Since then, yeah. And you were talking about the footage, this specific footage. What was it again?
This is, I think, known as the FLIR footage. That is from one of the famous kind of incidents around the recently released video files around the topic. Mm-hmm. That's been kind of the only canon confirmed UFO videos confirmed, like, the Pentagon and people, which is what kind of got a lot of people excited about it. but then also I think a lot of people that have been following this stuff for a long time also like quite skeptical at the same time. And so, there are all sorts of there are lots of interesting things in the videos that we see. And like, it is definitely footage of stuff that is not explained via kind of regular technology that we have access to or can see in everyday life or in the military at the moment even, or anything like that. So it is very curious. Is it 100% extraterrestrial? I don't know.
Well, we don't know. There's many different theories that we're going to go into. But I guess the three primary paranoias that are reigning supreme currently is number one, breakaway civilization.
Yeah, and that's a pretty big one. We can kind of explore that a little bit because that's also like not a new idea.
But then if we're going to look at it through the Jungian paradigm,
it's like the best way to put it almost is that the deep state is kind of like the new Atlantis or like the new Atlanteans, if you know what I mean. That they have communed with like extraterrestrials and
they've gotten technology, they've reverse engineered spacecrafts. All of that stuff.
All of this stuff has a huge through line to like Atlanteans and kind of
all of that crazy
and stuff that's in mythology. And so this isn't like a new anxiety and fear. It's just kind of manifesting through the cultural lens of information
that's now being proliferated.
Exactly.
But if we're going to look at that paranoia kind of through the Jungian paradigm, like what this popular paranoia represents is the idea that, people are afraid of how fast technology is developing. But at the same time, inequality doesn't seem to be decreasing. So there's this sort of unconscious fear that the powers that be, those on the top of the hierarchy, are going to be the main beneficiaries of any technological advancement we're able to gain, and the rest of us will be left behind. Whether that be AI or quote unquote reverse engineered technologies from captured spacecrafts, the underlying sort of paranoia and anxiety is this real visceral understanding of inequality and also the lack of social good, social regard that people who are kind of at the helm of technological innovation feel, and all of those things, and that's kind of that's what's underlying it in a sort of Jungian. It's this fear of being left behind by the establishment. And I feel like whenever you hear conspiracy theories about breakaway civilizations, that's really like what's underlying it.
Definitely. Well, that they're not of the class of people to go off on the spaceship, essentially.
Yeah.
And, or not only that, but like with this, it's kind of more far reaching than that because, the idea that you could travel years at a time, like either the energy required to like make a wormhole or whatever fucking sci-fi technology would be needed to make that work would essentially supply so much fucking energy that like it would create like a different paradigm for humanity
massively.
And the fear that essentially that the elites would have ability to tap into this new technology and then just keep it for themselves,
pretty much,
and essentially build like their own little universe,
separate from the rest of us,
they can live in, that would be completely isolated and there would be no need for any interaction.
Even the fear of the nuclear bunkers and like the billionaires building nuclear bunkers, like it's not far-fetched the idea of a breakaway civilization isn't that far-fetched. Like I remember when Alex Jones was talking about it, people were like laughing, but then as soon as like the world gets a bit turbulent, there are news stories about billionaires building luxury bunkers. Like isn't that its own kind of form of breakaway civilization already?
That's kind of like the breakaway civilization in the most like non-mind bending fashion.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's like in a way of like, oh yeah, like Elon Musk might be in on this thing because he's really rich, and it's like a way of like you being able to understand that in the world that you live in.
Yeah.
The other kind of breakaway civilization that is fucking mind-bending is that there is another species on Earth that has lived alongside or whatever with humanity, maybe even before we were evolved into humans.
aka ultra terrestrials.
Yeah, and exist here, and that they have a larger claim to this as their home than we do, and that actually a lot of the things that you're seeing are potentially that breakaway civilization. And, you know, that is something that a lot of people can't really wrap their heads around. So they kind of get freaked out about that and
massively
would dismiss it. But it's, I think, like in the realm of being open.
Well, we're looking down all the reality
everything
tunnels.
Has like an equal possibility.
We're doing a Robert Anton Wilson. We believe nothing, but we have many suspicions, which is how you're supposed to approach these kinds of things. But yeah, okay, so ultra terrestrials, one reality tunnel. Breakaway.
Well, it's part of the breakaway civilization.
Yeah, but like, it's a different branch. It's a different branch of the breakaway civilization.
It's the
schizo.
Deeper. It's like the iceberg.
Like the deep schizo.
It's the iceberg of the breakaway civilization.
Someone like Stephen Greer, who we have a video of, who we're going to show. I think he's crazy or whatever.
He fits more into the top level
Yeah, his theory is more
breakaway civilization thing.
His theory is more to do with government, powerful elite interests, whatever. Having reversed engineered crafts.
We'll play the clip.
Wait. Having reversed, because I want to go through all three and then we'll play the clips.
Okay.
Having reversed engineered craft technology in order to sort of build sort of aircrafts that get them through like airspace laws and all of this other stuff, which would indicate some kind of breakaway civilization.
Well, it's not. That's kind of like a charitable way of looking at it. It's that basically, like, you know, companies like Northrop Grumman, fucking Raytheon, Halliburton, like all of these dudes that are like arms manufacturers, don't really like have like a home. Like, they're so powerful that they are other than themselves. And that the videos, actually, even this FLIR video and the nimitz video and all of these black and white sanctioned Pentagon videos are not actually seeing UFOs, extraterrestrial UFOs. They are seeing man-made recreations of technology harbored by these companies that is now servicing the deep state. So these are essentially Illuminati machines that are like flying with impunity around the world, doing God knows what. And that is like kind of more of kind of his pitch than they just like to fly around and they like to look at, and you're like, no, like this.
I don't really buy.
They like exist on themselves and they can go wherever they like.
I don't really buy Stephen Greer's theory, and I also kind of think he's a dubious figure. But then again, I don't really know anything, so again, I believe nothing. Have many suspicions.
He's an interesting figure in this whole disclosure talk and.
But there's also a lot of weirdness around that too. A lot of grifting that goes on. A lot of support my podcast, support my Patreon, and I'll tell you the truth, and we're sticking it to power kind of thing. Like, it's become a kind of weird industrial complex.
That's everyone's fucking grift.
I know, but it's like it touches everything. It touches everything. It touches everything.
Even like, you know.
And then the incentive isn't to tell the truth. The incentive is to like fucking keep people engaged.
Even and, like YouTube journalists,
keep clicks happening and all of this fucking shit.
Even like YouTube journalists that I think like are pretty cringy. Some like the Redacted channel or whatever.
Yeah.
I think like he's super cringy when he's given financial advice and all these other fucking things.
Yeah.
And whatever. But like, you know, at least it feels like he's coming at things as more of just like objectively. If you know what I mean, in many ways. And it's sort of like, I don't know, maybe he's probably not. He's probably completely fucking funded up the wazoo by like feel money.
You're
or, like,
literally being psyoped.
So like, but do you know what I mean?
You have to be scared. You have to believe nothing.
My point was he comes across as just
and
a
have
straight
many
up
suspicions.
guy, and fucking he still does the whole. We're fucking giving it the truth, and like everyone else is lying, and you're like, dude, just fucking
stop it.
Do the fucking show.
Do the show. You don't. But that's what makes you money. That's the thing that makes you money, is telling people everyone else is lying.
Everyone else is a grifter. I'm telling you the truth. Subscribe to me and pay me $15 a month, and you'll continue to get the truth right to your brain.
Oh my god, it's
like,
so bad.
I don't know. I don't have like the truth, right? I've got like my subjective like view on like the state of things, and like if you enjoy that, then great, and hang around. But like, I can't offer you any more than that. It's sort of.
But that's not sexy in this kind of realm. Unfortunately,
I'm sorry, I'm not sexy enough for you. To see that content, you got to go to my. You got to
go to our OnlyFans.
Okay? No, whoa! Don't be telling people we've got an OnlyFans. That's gonna. That's gonna, people are gonna be Googling. It's not gonna be good.
That's not. We don't have an OnlyFans.
That's lies. We don't have an OnlyFans. We would never.
We're too cool for that. Oh my god! Imagine if we did though.
I'm not a hooer.
It would just be. I might be.
I'm not a digital hooer.
I'm a digital hooer. It's sort of in a different kind of way though. I prefer to think of myself as a digital courtesan, like a geisha. Like I make tea for everyone in the Discord, engage in like conversation, entertain them or whatever. That's kind of how I see myself, like a digital geisha.
I'm sure like lots of women would call themselves digital geishas, but they would mostly be in the game Final Fantasy 14 or whatever. Like in those like private strip club RP fucking dungeons inside an MMORPG game.
Oh god, what is going on with the world? Oh Jesus.
Get your best cat girl ear like costume on.
I would never wear cat girl ears. If you're over like 25, you shouldn't be wearing
looking for daddy in the chat. Bang. Money.
Oh my god.
Money all day, baby. Are
you trying to pimp me? Is that what's going on? Are you my digital pimp? Is that what's happening right now?
That's what you're saying you're doing.
That's not what I'm saying I'm doing. I'm mostly like doing like rants in the Discord about like my various special interests or whatever. But anyway, moving back to this, one of the other paranoias breakaway civilization shows is people aren't optimistic about the progression of technology.
Or no, that they think that the elites are going to hoard it, and and it's kind of not even around technology. I think at the end of the day, the fear is around like the disparity and treatment of classes, and like how one utterly different universe, the ruling class. And
they already live in a breakaway civilization,
exactly,
which is the reason why I feel Alex Jones. When people were making fun of Alex Jones for saying it, they were like being mean because it's kind of true in a subjective way. People could look at things subjectively a little bit more. I think they'd get closer to the truth of like the current moment.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. He's also been right about a lot of stuff, and whilst he might be right and he'd be like, oh yeah, in a poetic, like subjective way, Alex Jones is right.
No,
in this
you
gotta
look at Alex Jones's speech like Jungian active imagination.
No, dude. Like, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you don't know, dude. In 5 years, there could be literally just fucking. They could be like full 3-body problem in it, and just having ships just go off. Fuck
off. Well, dude, that's like crazy. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it.
Especially if like all of it, because that's the thing. If you go along with like the main narrative, right, that like we definitely don't have like any crashed alien craft or beings or anything like that, and that like everything is like just gonna tick along, and we're gonna like make gradual improvements in whatever. But AI might be going fucking whatever. But otherwise than that, like physics, science is still not. It's in a fairly rigorous
I feel like that's a very
stalemate in a way.
I feel like that's a very Mark Fisher-esque take, the idea that like breakaway civilization equals like class anxiety or whatever.
Well, it does, because they already exist within this bubble. But then if like the paranoid like fantasies in a way, I would say they're fantasies rather than nightmares. But
they are kind of nightmares.
They're nightmare fantasies. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's still like you're still like wrapping yourself up in some kind of Blade Runner narrative.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where and so I think the paranoia comes from like the way you see it evidenced at the moment, how you feel like it could go, and then the kind of paranoid fantasies that you have around like possible alien technology and how that could advance humanity. But then your paranoia around how elites would hoard that and use it for themselves, plus all of the way that you see that they completely separate themselves already from like work. And that's not even like, you say ruling class and fucking working class. That's not even like down to presidents or whatever. That's like bosses and fucking employees and stuff at companies. That's not like, that's not on such a macro level that you think it is.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Second popular paranoia, nuclear sites. So one of the things that Carl Jung writes about in this book, because he wrote about it in the early 60s. And during that time, there was obviously a lot of nuclear testing happening and all this sort of stuff. And one of the primary places where UFO sightings were seen and first recorded was around these nuclear sites.
Well, that's what Roswell is. Roswell was the only place a nuclear weapon could leave to go and attack another nation. Up to that point in 47 when the crash was and all of that stuff. The Russians hadn't had them yet. Like, no one else had him. The only place they fucking existed and the only place they could launch from was Roswell.
Yeah.
And what happened
You're
there?
giving me the schizo wide eyes at the moment.
What happened there
Scary.
again? Like, you know, so the connection there has been forever.
Yeah, forever, yeah.
It's been like, you know, since the dawn of all of this.
Massively. And yeah, like Twin Peaks The Return is real. Like in episode 8 of Twin Peaks The Return, we see the nuclear explosion happen. And then it's sort of like is part of the lore of that universe or whatever. But I think it's really interesting that was used as like a pivotal point in Twin Peaks The Return, which is worth rewatching and rewatching and rewatching. We're due to rewatch it again.
Definitely. I want to rewatch the whole of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, let's just do it again. I do it like every couple of years. The last time we did it was at our right before we moved into
Highgate.
Yeah, when we were in Highgate.
Yeah.
Our old flat. So I think we're well overdue.
I'm due to rewatch Twin Peaks and rewatch Eastbound and Down. Those are my 2 rewatches on my list at the moment.
Oh my gosh. Feel free to recommend us more schizo adjacent things to watch. But yeah, so, you know, nuclear sites is where these crafts were seen, and Jung was sort of talking about how, you know, the manifestations of these beings are either benevolent, or malevolent, but then their benevolent manifestation is obviously in almost angelic form in this kind of new form of secular spirituality. The idea that there's something beyond our ego that can save us from ourselves. So there's 2 sides to this. The one side is like, you know, it shows that there's a yearning in our current era for something numinous, to use Jung's term, something transcendent, something beyond the ego, a God image. And a lot of that is kind of being projected onto UFOs, especially in the sense that you know, they're here to save us. Be. Yeah.
With something and it's kind of, I don't know, like, I don't want to trip you up or anything, but it's the fear of something big, like literally bigger or greater than human beings.
Yeah.
Not figuratively.
But it's not fear. It's like, both a fear and a desire.
In the clouds, maybe, if you believed hard enough, there was like this amorphous thing.
Of course, we're past the age of
something.
Pisces. We're past the age of Pisces. We're in the age of Aquarius.
Like, no, literally, there are fucking beings like outdick you in every possible measure you could think of.
That's the thing. We're in a time of like great technological innovation. We have a very kind of egoic scientific approach to things. We exist in a secular paradigm. God is dead, blah, 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 blah. But there's still this thing in us that has this deep desire for numinosity. And you see that like projected into the UFO kind of culture and conspiracy theories, and the way that it's captured the public imagination now that it's like part of the zeitgeist, and you have like literal senators like Marco Rubio freaking out on CNN or whatever the fuck.
But again, that's all wrapped up within how the government are trying to shape the narrative, right? And that is kind of part of where I do agree with Stephen Greer slightly. It is, and this is the thing with Stephen Greer is like Vladimir Putin to me. All right, like, you know, is he a great person that's virtuous and does all the things he does in aid of disclosure? No. Like, does he do like sketchy retreats where people meditate and claim to talk to aliens and stuff? Yeah, and he makes a lot of money off that stuff. Does he also like talk about the subject like someone that has been completely fucking steeped in it for almost his entire life and knows an awful lot about lots of different fucking incidents, sightings, people that are involved, people that are on like boards that were like, you know, in charge of making decisions around important things around incidents and stuff? And has he directly spoken to those people? Absolutely. And so there are like, there's things that he will say that you gotta like try and pick away the not cool bits, but like the fucking real bits, and the bits that are fucking coated in ego and trying to sell something. And like it is tricky, and I'm sure like if he ever heard someone like if he watched this and heard me say that, he would be like, fuck this guy, he's a fucking professional disinformation agent, just like, you know, George Knapp and fucking all these other guys. God. And you're like, you know, dude, I'm a guy in my fucking bedroom,
in our flat,
and I'm just like giving you my subjective opinion on what I've seen of you and what you do.
Dude, I doubt he's watching. You don't need to talk to him like you're on a Skype call.
This is like a message to Stephen Greer, right? Because I find him a very fascinating figure and someone that gets ruled out very quickly. And even sort of even within the dodgy stuff, man, even within the sort of like making a retreat to contact UFOs, do I believe he can fucking meditate and contact UFOs? No. Do I believe that there is an element of the UFO phenomenon that is certainly has something to do with consciousness and being able to communicate with purely consciousness? 100% Like, even, you know, you got ancient fucking examples of that shit with the Dogon and all sorts of things.
Dogon tribe.
And that is all
and their encounter with the numinous.
Like, it's philosophical, fucking occult and psychological principles and stuff like that. So like, I don't dismiss that as a topic of the discussion.
Yeah.
But do I dismiss the idea that you can go to pay to someone to go and learn how to do that? Absolutely. Like, the two things can coexist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, back to what I was saying. So it's a craving for something numinous, but at the same time, on the shadow end of the spectrum, since this is like a mirror of ourselves, we also project our anxieties and our own evil onto UFOs. So our fear of something bigger than ourselves or smarter than ourselves, more technologically advanced than ourselves, a fear of an encounter of something that has technology so advanced that like we can't even begin to explain what we're seeing or how it's like violating our physics, all of those sorts of things.
Well, the advanced,
it's like it's humbling. So, and the thing that is that Jung says something that's like numinous is something that contains both like awe and terror. It's like the reconciliation of those opposites, and like the kind of UFO disc encounters is that. And he says that it's like an image of the self with the capital S, meaning like the soul basically, and like it's the God image of the new aeon or whatever. That's kind of how Jung views it. And yeah, those are like the three primary paranoias that I'm seeing: breakaway civilization, this sort of benevolent, malevolent thing with like the nuclear sites, and the fear of something greater than ourselves, which we see also in the fears surrounding artificial intelligence. Like you were talking about this earlier. They're kind of twofold. On one end, they're yelling about how AI is going to replace us and we're no longer going to be the dominant species on the planet. But at the same time, we're terrified of, is it ultra-terrestrials? Is it like a breakaway civilization of elites? Is it like UFOs? Is it like aliens from another planet? Is it interdimensional species? Is it this? Is it that? We're constantly being bombarded by these like fears and paranoias. But I'm of the thought that they're coming from within. Like I kind of agree with Jung in the sense I think they're reflections of our growing pains into the new aeon, into the age of Aquarius. And that's, I'm an Aquarius, so
yeah,
I'm all about that. I'm all about that shit. It's like birth pangs.
I do understand like the kind of the thread line with that. I would say that there's like too much happening in reality for it to be just symbolism.
But Jung doesn't say it's just symbolism though, because he doesn't make real distinction between the inner and the outer in that way. I don't think
it's like sort of people being like
because it could be happening outer. It could be what he's saying is it could be actually happening outer, but because we're like evolved apes, we're talking apes. We have a certain archetypal psychology. We have a certain type of God image that exists within us. We have a certain patterns, like archetypal patterns within us. So even whatever phenomenon we encounter, we're going to view it through that lens, real or unreal or whatever. It's going to be viewed through the lens of our collective psychology, which is kind of his argument. So he's not making an argument that it's real or it's not. He's just kind of filtering it through his framework, which is what I'm trying to do. But you're saying, no, these things are real.
No, I'm not
saying. And I'm saying they are. They could be, but what I'm saying is it doesn't matter. Even if they are, I think the really important question is, what effect is this having on our consciousness, on our culture, on our society? What is it telling us about ourselves? What is it telling us about where we're at? I think the reality and unreality matters to an extent, but I think the second half of the equation matters more.
It definitely does in like terms of where you stand in the hierarchy of reality.
Well, yeah, I know,
right?
But that's again, it's the shadow part. These questions, as we face these existential questions, we have to deal with both the numinous and the shadow side.
Like
that's the thing is that question in and of itself. There's a numinous side to of the answers to that question. There's also a shadow side to it, and the point is to accept and integrate like both.
Like the canon version of the story of humanity's hierarchy in reality is that we are the smartest things in existence. that's how the world is formed. That's like what differentiates
we differentiate
us from
the world,
the
like
environment,
Adam.
from animals, from everything else.
It's like the Adam story. We named
are,
everything. We like differentiate the stuff from the pleroma.
That we are
then what if there's
sentient
something else like
and intelligent, and that if that could be a manufactured computer that would then dominate and become more intelligent than us, would obviously have so many different paranoias tied around it, and not even undue paranoias and like fantastical paranoias like Elon Musk going on about Terminator 2. No, it wouldn't be like Terminator 2. Like, shut the fuck up, bro. Like, no, not like that, but like, no, if there's fucking machines that are smarter than you and can learn instantaneously and better, like can accomplish tasks better than human beings, and can communicate with each other instantly in languages that like are made up between machines, so humans don't understand them. That's fucking frightening and like not good, right? The same kind of hierarchy existentialism is there then with aliens or ultra-terrestrials or fucking even breakaway civilization Illuminati figures.
Yeah,
is that these beings are like above regular canon human beings.
Yeah.
They're like, even though Elon Musk is fucking a billionaire, or Bill Gates, or whoever the fuck, all these fucking people that are your like elite and ruling class or whatever, even though they have like these resources, you cut them, they bleed. They are still essentially us. They are like human beings. They aren't like, you know what I mean? They don't have, as the Nigerians would say, they don't have two heads. Like, they are just a person.
That's true. They are just a person.
And you know, that doesn't change.
Yeah.
If all of
I
a
love
sudden
how you've picked up all of our little sayings and stuff. It's so cute.
Some of them are fucking genius. So they've got to be popularized. You know?
Oh, that's sweet.
You thought I was gonna like slate Nigerians or say something bad?
Yeah, I did, because you normally are going to say something bad.
Never.
Like,
that's not funny. It's only in good jest.
It's only in colonization.
It's that same existential fear, and hey, maybe even you just joke about colonization and whatever.
Well,
like,
that's part of it
like,
too.
Part of the fear,
that's
right?
part of the fear is that we've done.
We know what we would do if we were interacting with an intelligence that wasn't as smart as us,
it's a
capable
motif.
as us.
And the thing is, that's the thing about people when they talk about colonizers, and it's always white people. Yeah, we get that, like, that shit was bad, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying it wasn't bad. But even in Africa, for instance, the major fight going on that continent was between, even before any European set foot on the fucking soil, Arab, whatever, was between hunter-gatherers and settled agricultural, like, medieval city-states. There are people in
urban versus rural.
Yeah, there are people in parts of sub-Saharan Africa.
Tale as old as time.
There are people in parts of sub-Saharan Africa that, because they were so remote and cut off from trade routes and all sorts of things, remained hunter-gatherers and stayed that way for like thousands of years. Tens of thousands of years, And some of them even still live that way of life because it's just been so successful and sustainable, and they just haven't had that much contact with the outside world. But the parts of sub-Saharan Africa that did have trade routes, that got access to Islam and all of those different things, that built city-states and kingdoms and had agriculture, what they did when they encountered these hunter-gatherers?
Slaves.
What do you think they did to them?
Free slaves.
Not just that, like genocide. And there's even also speculation that, like, our hominid ancestors, that we got rid of them, that Homo sapiens did like a mini genocide or whatever back, when there were other hominids like roaming around Earth or whatever. So, this is something that is a motif in nature when species that are more advanced encounter species that are less developed or less technologically advanced.
This is where the utopian...
the fucking shit goes down. So I think... And then look at what we're doing. We're talking all billionaires and all the sort of elites. They're talking about nothing else than their ambitions, this sort of Apollonian ambition to colonize the stars. We're the ones who want to do the bad thing, but then we're afraid that the aliens are going to do the things to us, which is why I agree with Jung. It's an ego and self-image. It's like it's an archetypal thing. It's like an inner battle.
This is where like the sort of a great fear and also the sort of a great awe part of it comes in, right? Because like the argument is from like a utopian alien, what were they called? The Raelians?
Yeah, the Raelians.
Yeah.
They have a,
like
oh my God, they have
the
like
Raelians or whatever.
They have a center in London.
Yeah, but are they the Raelians or they were the Aetherius Society?
Oh, the Aetherius Society.
That was a different guy
UFO
who was
cult.
the kind of like, he was doing Stephen Greer's thing before Stephen Greer in like the 60s in London, basically.
And channeling ultra-terrestrial
yeah, exactly. It's the
intelligences.
same kind of thing, man. And you're just like, not gonna pay for your courses.
Dude, we should go. We should, because they have an Aetherius temple, and it's in Fulham of all places.
I don't think they let you take pictures and stuff though.
We used to live near it. No, we should just. We're just like journalists. Like, we'll just go and like, say we're like, be looky-loos, and like, I think we should like.
I think I should just sign up.
We should sleep it.
I think I just sign up and
get
go
your
in.
e-meter reading or whatever.
Go in, but no, like, what was I saying? The whole utopian thing of that is that if you part of growth and evolution to reach to like what was it that the is it the Kurdachev scale or something like this? I'm like totally butchering this, but there's some sort of like fancy name for a scale of like civilizations. Michio Kaku talks about this all the fucking time, and like for you to like not only technologically, you would need to basically then be able to harness the power of a sun to advance like civilization,
like 3-body problem,
and things
stuff.
like this. So
yeah.
like, then this would be like a tier 3 civilization. We're currently on like tier 2 civilization, etc., and this would where it would go up to all the way to like galaxy level civilizations and this kind of thing. That essentially, not only would you technologically need to advance to be able to harness the power of a sun, but like your culture and society would need to advance equally along with your technology, so that, you don't kill each other and fucking like completely destroy, up and die.
And die.
And so like the whole utopian thing would be like, oh well, yeah, you're thinking about this with your monkey brain. Yeah. Like you've got these big sticks and you're just gonna go and like hit each other with them. Yeah. If you actually kind of like are an evolved being, like these aliens would be, then you would have no fucking hate in your heart, and there would be like,
that's
nothing.
Optimistic. Again, Jung, again, God image, and I've noticed it with you, and like a lot of people who like grew up secular and stuff. There is an almost religious reverence with which you talk about UFO or alien life in general. And you're not willing to entertain the idea that they might be malevolent either. Every time I've tried to pose that idea to you, always sort of try and shift it to like and I think it is because it is sort of a form of secular spirituality. No. And I'm not shaming that, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I think there's both a positive and negative manifestation of it.
There's a logic behind that.
The positive manifestation is the desire for the numinous, a desire to experience something beyond our ego, something transcendent, something that sort of defies logic and our technology and our hubris. But the negative side of it is the projection of our paranoias, of our fears, of our evil, of all of those different things. And also like a sort of scientism, in the sense, a belief that anything numinous can only be explained through scientific rationality or whatever.
No. So like
that's my issue with this sort of secular spirituality around UFOs.
Like the reason I dismiss a malevolence from any kind of ultra or extraterrestrial presence.
Have you not read Lovecraft? Have you not read H.P. Lovecraft?
Yeah, but those are...
we have a little Cthulhu popped all over there,
those are silly, fun horror fiction, books.
Are they, though?
Yeah, the reality and the evidence you have in reality...
is that they hover over nuclear sites and save us from ourselves or whatever.
Save us from ourselves. They're probably just checking them out. Like, fuck knows what the fuck I couldn't even begin to tell you what the fucking rationale was. But the evidence that you have is that they've been spotted around those sites. Have they fucking projected a huge laser into them and blown them up so that we fucking are fucked? No. Have like, has there been like, even in the abductee cases, not all, even a great deal of them are very negative. Yeah, they're strange and they unsettle people. Yeah, they're not like no,
that's not true. That's not true.
Some of them are bad.
Some of them are really traumatic.
Yeah,
like there are some people who have had very, very traumatic, and that's what I mean. say it's almost like a secular spirituality. Even you're like attempting to minimize
no.
the idea that they could be malevolent.
My point is that if they're that powerful that they could come from fucking light years away and do all this stuff and have all this crazy technology, they could fucking wipe us out in an instant.
But no, not necessarily. Like, think about Lovecraft. Like, in H.P. Lovecraft, the great old ones, or the sort of I don't even know if you would call them malevolent. They're just indifferent to humanity. And like in HP,
they're not indifferent because they're checking all sorts of points of interest out, aren't they?
Well, no, in HP, I'm talking
about indifferent. They're curious at the very least.
In H.P. Lovecraft's universe, at least, like the great old ones, or like, you know, Cthulhu, Yog-Sothoth, Nyarlathotep, affairs are kind of trivial to them, the same kind of triviality that an ant would have to a human being. And the fact of the matter is, we're just so lucky that we happen to exist in a point of the universe where we're kind of away from them. But for instance, if the great sleeper wakes up, the great mad god wakes up from his dream, then all of reality will just blink out of existence.
Well,
or if Cthulhu wakes from his slumber or whatever, then we're fucked. It's that kind of thing where it's like, they're not necessarily malevolent, but they're like,
it's interesting that you just use that exact language, actually.
What?
That you'd wake up from these beings' dream.
Well, that's a motif in Hinduism, like the dream of Brahma. It's a motif in Lovecraft's universe. Okay. Sorry, I'll stop spurging.
Yeah. Like
got me spurging.
One of the most famous abductee cases was a guy called Whitley Strieber, who, again, it's really hard to decipher and understand that story completely and what's true about it and what's not. He's a fiction writer.
That's true, yeah. Just like L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah. And, well, no, a good one, apparently. An award-winning one.
Not a bad one.
So, no, a good one. Okay. So, like, you know, and he wrote a non-fiction account of his abduction situation and his whatever, to where, like, he dreamt, he thought it was a dream. He's a writer. He has a very active imagination, so he was actually quite convinced that this was not a real thing. He went to a doctor that's a long-term friend about it, all these sorts of things, described the sorts of things that happened in this dream, went for all sorts of other medical scans and stuff to make sure that he wasn't unwell or affected in a negative way. But one of the things that did come back that was really weird was that he dreamt that the aliens had like put a needle into his head in the left or right side of his skull, and that felt really weird the next day. But like when he went to go and get a brain scan and everything, there was actually a marking that went in from exactly.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have like nightmares tonight. Stop.
So, but then, you know, that's it's super fucking like, oh, it did it now. Like, what
does this have to do with the dream thing?
Is that when he first encountered these aliens, and he thought, and this is like the beginning of his dream, and like what he said in an interview basically was that he saw his son in his bed, because he went to check on him to see if like he was missing or something. I think he was missing, so he went outside. There was this fucking UFO in the sky. Yeah. Comes back in and his son is in bed.
Yeah.
But his son, like, sits up and says something like, we're just in God's dream. That, like, are we real? Like, is he going to wake up?
Oh my god.
And that was like the first message that he got from this kind of like interaction in the abduction and stuff.
That's why I was saying that's like a motif in Hinduism, like the idea of Brahman sleep. In H.P. Lovecraft's universe, I forget the name of the idea is that the universe is actually this blind, deaf, dumb god, and there are all these eldritch entities that have to play like trumpets and flutes to keep it asleep and to soothe it so that it doesn't wake up and like blink everything out of existence, basically. And like that's H.P. Lovecraft's like cosmic pessimism or whatever. And that's the thing is like, it's just sort of an illustration of a type of cosmic pessimism. But because this secular spirituality has come about with like the UFO phenomenon, people who really, really kind of have bought into this form of secular spirituality refuse to entertain the idea of any kind of cosmic pessimism or cosmic doubt. Like they're very convinced in this like almost fundamentalist way that the aliens are benevolent. They've even invented entire mythologies around them, like the Pleiadians
for something to resonate towards high frequency, to like continue ascending has to be harmonious. It cannot be discordant. It doesn't work.
So Jake's there, like, trying to join the space brotherhood.
But that's also kind of
by
like,
aligning his chakras.
No, but that
I mean, it's a possibility.
Is that not the case?
It's a possibility. Like,
because otherwise it would be like, you know, the Borgs or whatever it was from fucking Star Trek, where they have to like consume fucking whatever to keep survive. Like, they're essentially space Vikings.
Yeah. But how do you know there aren't factions of all different kinds of?
Well, that's another fucking possibility.
You know? And how do you? What do you know what we would be like? Like, whenever I hear Elon Musk,
theories is that there are many, and that we've got some fucking deal going in Jerusalem with like the Israeli government and intergalactic council and, you know, American government, and the UK and like a bunch of all kinds of crazy things. The big, like the G8 or whatever the fuck, they've all got like a big fucking pact going on.
But then again, all the schizo stuff aside, it all comes down to us at the end of the day, as above, so below. Like, when I hear people like Elon Musk talking about colonizing the galaxy and how this is the destiny of humanity, and all those like intellectual like dark web people and all of these like blah blah blah. Yeah, well, in humanity's current state, what would we be like if we encountered other life out in the stars? Like, what ethos would we be taking out into the rest of the universe? And
that's
like,
the point. We're not in a fucking state to do that.
No.
And that's why even like our attempt to go into the stars and whatever, yeah, we're confined to our solar system, to the dead planets in our solar system, because we can't fucking go beyond that, because our shit has not evolved to be able to go beyond that.
Yeah.
We can't even barely handle all having fucking nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Let alone having a fucking like a generator that would be the size of your fist that could power the whole of London.
Your whole idea.
You know what I mean? Like,
your whole idea is that
that's magic. That's exactly what you're talking about, right? Like, that's the point. It's like it's shit that you literally could not comprehend.
Yeah.
It would seem like magic to fucking us.
Yeah.
Because it is such high technology.
Your whole idea basically is that for a civilization to get to the point where it would like be able to achieve the kind of interdimensional or like interstellar travel that it would require, it would need to be peaceful. Yeah. Otherwise it would have destroyed itself.
Yeah.
And then in that sense, Jung kind of touches on that in this essay, and he sort of talks about how what the aliens represent is like the self, the optimum self, the individuated self in its most positive manifestation anyway of the archetype. That's what it represents, is humanity achieving its like potential and like its destiny kind of thing.
This was also like essentially the radical, you know, thought of people like Timothy Leary as well, was that humanity had, you know, evolved so much technologically and all of these things, and it could do all sorts of like wondrous and terrible things, but it is spiritually not evolved like at all in the 20th century, and we need to like develop a way to allow humans to fucking spiritually evolve. And if they can't do that through
that's what Jung says
and whatever,
Jung also has like a concept on
tune out, brother.
Jung also has like Jung also talks about the concept of
tune in, brother, sorry,
of crop circles as well, which he sort of talks about as if they're mandalas. And mandalas, the sort of circular imagery of mandalas, represents like the archetype of the self. So in his mind, these crop circles are messages of individuation. They're reminders of the process of individuation, or symbols of the process of individuation to humankind as a whole, reminding us of the process it's going to take for us to actually give birth to this like new godhead, basically, which is his like schizo new age like version of it. But so I think it's an interesting concept.
We've gone through the point. Should we go through our little clips now?
Yeah, let's go through our clips.
And
I also I have one book recommendation before we get to our clips. Go to the Discord, our little docket thing. If you scroll down, you'll be able to find it. Yeah, I've got one more book recommendation to make if you're interested in any of this stuff. Can you show it to them?
No.
Okay, never mind. Well, it's called The Daimonic Reality, and it's by Patrick Harper, and he basically talks about encounters with otherworldly beings throughout history, and he sort of talks about like fairies and all sorts of other kind of encounters with otherworldly beings. He talks about the UFO phenomenon, but he sort of ties it through in this very kind of archetypal way, similar to Jung. I think he is a Jungian, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I highly recommend checking out that book if you're interested, and maybe we'll put it on the list to vote for book club as well. So yeah. Let's get to our clips.
All right, so let's watch it. Let's watch this little clip of our boy Stephen Greer.
We can't watch the whole thing, though.
Not the whole thing, but like we'll just watch a bit of it.
Okay.
What is the most dangerous information that you know?
Oh boy. Well, I'll tell you what I told the director of the defense.
This is before we get into this clip, because it is also what really irritates me about interviewing Stephen Greer, is that you'll try and ask him a direct question, and instead of actually just saying the thing and then like giving you a story, he'll like completely just be like, oh, okay, I understand what you want to know. I'll completely skirt around this and like make you feel like I do know some really dangerous stuff, but like I can't tell you directly exactly that. You know what I mean?
Oh my god.
Agency and
he has like an old man head, but like a really Chad body. It's like freaking me out.
He looks after himself. It's all right.
It's weird.
Me and that guy.
Pretend that you're him.
Okay.
The first question he asked me was, we don't understand why you haven't committed to me. And I said, well, because I don't need to do that. Because his father had, knowing what I'm about to tell you. And that is that there's a group of people who control this issue that are trying to sort of agent provocateur, to provoke an interplanetary incident. So the next war, World War III, will be interplanetary. And there is a serious group of nut jobs, and they have to be put on a leash and stood down fast and quickly. And the trigger, when unacknowledged, hit hundreds of millions of people seeing it. This group started releasing stuff to the CNN and Washington Post and New York Times under cover of a group that from a boy that I used to teach on this, named Tom DeLonge, the Blink-182 guy.
Oh yeah, he's huge on the
okay.
Tom DeLonge.
Yeah, so
whose dad is like a glowy. I don't trust him.
No, I understand that, but if
he glows in the dark, Jake.
If you take that little narrative,
just because he played some cool rock songs doesn't mean he doesn't glow in the dark.
If you take that little narrative, okay, that is exactly what we were talking about. So what he's saying there is that like there is call it the Illuminati. Right, just for sake of everybody knows what you're talking about when you say. So just calling it like
I've been scolded several times in the Discord.
State or fucking the amalgamation of all of these.
I've been scolded multiple times in the Discord for using the term Illuminati, so we're not allowed to.
No. Instead of using the amalgamation of all these military
intelligence
agencies, fucking
media,
industrial complex, fucking like groups and everything. Yeah. Instead of just calling it that, I'm just going to call it the Illuminati. Okay, so like that's what I mean, right? Like so that's what he's saying exists. And that they want to essentially like exactly what we talked about a few episodes ago, like Project Bluebeam or whatever. This idea that they would like use aliens as like
cover
as like
for military,
like a Dr. Manhattan vibe, and like as like an existential third party like enemy that they could perpetually like fund to fight or to prepare against or whatever. And the things that we've seen that's been released is essentially footage of the vehicles that this group has been able to create from technology that they've like taken back and stuff. And
so he's like a breakaway civilization guy, basically.
And the timeline that he gives there is kind of very coincidentally like good for him. He released a documentary called Unacknowledged. That then, coincidentally, after then was when they started to release all of this footage and stuff. So now he can give that like narrative about it. But that is also the chronological order in which things did happen. And so, like, this is where I struggle with him. Do you know what I mean?
This is why he's your Putin.
He's like he definitely does bullshit an amount. There's an amount that he fucking bullshits, but I do feel like there is an underlying like fucking something that he's onto that is not entirely bullshit. Like the idea that there would that what they've shown you is not what you think it is, and it is very controlled and everything else, and it's exactly, they're painting a narrative of like national defense and all of this stuff before anything.
Well, that's what he accuses Tom DeLonge of caving to.
And he did, and then he kind of stopped hanging out with Stephen Greer and like other
started
people,
hanging out with Glowies,
and got welcomed in and got codes and had to fucking get fucking searched before he went into rooms with 5 layers of fucking doors. And so that alone is literally a psychological thing. That is nothing but a psychological fucking game to play on someone to make them feel like you're fucking getting them in on something and everything else. So like I fucking get where Stephen Greer is coming from in that regard. But it's also just like, I know you're also kind of full of shit, so I don't know how much of your thing to believe. And as someone that also knows that, like, if you were going to call something like a deep state or Illuminati or whatever, like those groups like Northrop Grumman, fucking Halliburton, all of that shit, that is exactly, they would be the unaccountable fucking people, unaccountable to governments, unaccountable to whatever. Like, pretty much. Do you know what I mean? And if they had secret facilities, who the fuck would know? And who the fuck would be able to hold them accountable for that?
That's true.
Who would be able to make them disclose that stuff?
That's true. But what do you think Stephen Greer would think if we told him that his breakaway civilization hypothesis is just class anxiety?
No, I don't. Well, it's
Well, how do you think he would?
He would not respond very well to that.
Be like, we know you're afraid of the elites. Everyone is, and it shows a greater contradiction. And maybe we should pay more attention to that than to the schizo theorizing.
So around like
the schizo theorizing is fun, and you should do it. But that's the real contradiction.
Okay, so the other reason I feel like that they are trying to paint this in a particular way, in a narrative, and they're trying to control it in a very, very particular way, is this as well. This is from the most recent UAP hearing with the newest fucking congregation of people that they've decided need to look into the UFO, UAP, whatever you want to fucking call it, phenomenon, called ARROW, All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. And so this is taken over from the Marco Rubio one that was then taken over from what was it called? But just before this, I fucking forget now. The UAP Task Force. I think it was the last one it was called before this. So now it's ARROW, and it has this guy called something Kirkpatrick who's fucking doing it. And Dr. Kirkpatrick definitely has credentials to do all of this stuff, but he's also worked for the fucking CIA and is trying to fucking shape this shit in a way that is the government wants to, right? And so like this is the information that the ARROW team are looking at, which is essentially all the information that the UAP task force and all the people beforehand that were taking a serious consideration at this whole topic were looking at. The dates, very important. 96 to 2023. Why? That seems so arbitrary. Like documents before this date, like falsified by governments and like whatever the fuck. Like why 1996? That's really fucking weird. There's lots of like massive stuff that happened within this fucking subject before
prior
1996.
To that. Roswell, like
very,
all of
very
that
interesting.
Stuff.
Like there's some then like kind of like interesting information around here as well. So like the altitudes that they're getting a lot of these reports at, you can see like not many of them actually like super high up. A lot of them are kind of within, not people distance, but there would be buildings and whatever the fuck like going on, right? And so you get to see the kinds of things that they like actually do, and like the kinds of stuff. So
morphology, size, color, altitude,
their performance, like the
velocity,
and like their velocity. So that's stationary to Mach 2. Mach is like the speed of sound. So they can go twice the speed of sound from stationary to twice the speed of sound. Propulsion. No thermal exhaust detected. That's like a major point of all of these UFO sightings. And then some intermittent radar response and some intermittent radio response and intermittent thermal responses as well. You also have... hang on.
2 seconds.
I heard a click. That definitely means something happened.
No, it's just our the timer probably. Our timer. Sorry, guys. 2 seconds. There we go. Sorry about that.
Oh, and then you also have morphology, so like the kind of shapes and stuff that you're going to see typically from UFOs. And so most people would think of a disc or something like that, as you said, right? That's 2% of all of the data that they've got.
Wow.
It's 2%. Most of it are round orbs. And one of the round orbs that they actually showed in this hearing is exactly that as well. It's literally just like a cylindrical orb that just travels and floats past the camera. Exactly that. No thermal exhaust, anything like that. Just looks like a metal solid ball. And loads of a few of these solid ball videos have come out recently from both the podcast with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, and then also through these hearings. And they've all been in Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff, and a lot of them have been picked up in war zones. And then
again, the whole idea that they're watching our conflicts and they're benevolently, preventing them, or they have the potential to come and intervene.
They're just floating around war zones.
But there's this idea that they have the potential to come intervene in some way. But what I think is interesting about this is there's not a lot of data outside of the Western world, and
not necessarily Western world, but actually just where America probably have the most concentration of military bases, or military bases with some kind of
nuclear capability.
Not nuclear, because there's all this shit over here next to China.
Oh yeah.
So like that definitely isn't. I'm going to assume that's like Taiwan and possibly Japan that has got like that part. That's obviously all this kind of like Saudi parts and Iraq and stuff, and where all of those parts have been.
The Middle East.
You've got East Coast. You've got the West Coast, a tiny random little spot in West Africa. It
looks like Nigeria, probably.
Yeah, quite possibly. Probably, actually, Nigeria.
Yeah, probably Nigeria.
And then, like, fucking nothing. Nothing in, like, Europe, Australia,
which isn't true.
South
There've
America,
been so many,
Brazil, which absolutely, especially for the time frame 1996.
There have been so many incidents globally. It's a completely global phenomenon.
Not only that, but there is like one of the most recent. It came out recently. There's a documentary called "Moment of Contact" from a guy called James Fox, who talked about essentially a sighting of an actual being in Brazil, in Virginia, Brazil, where a UFO was spotted to be spewing smoke out, and it came and crashed, and then like
Brazilian Roswell, basically.
I can't remember if it's like later in the day or the next day or whatever. These girls were like walking through like a normal suburban part and stuff, and there's this grassy like little square, and like this one girl looks and sees a fucking like an actual fucking alien. Like this is the story. Sees an actual fucking alien, says something to it. It like turns around and it has fucking huge red eyes. It's got like oily fucking skin. God. And around the alien, everything like stinks of like ammonia or sulfur. That's like how people are like, the worse than sulfur was like.
But that's the thing, that the smell of sulfur. If you read the book, I recommended The Daimonic Reality. The smell of sulfur historically has always been said to accompany these quote unquote benevolent or malevolent beings or whatever.
But then this girl was with two of her friends. All three of them saw this creature. They all drew it and like gave testimony and all of this stuff. The fucking military shuts down the whole area. This guy picks up the alien and like finds it, accosts it, picks it up, fucking takes it in this truck with this other guy who drives the truck to this hospital, does all this stuff. Military fucking like control doctors, like don't let them even see the x-rays that they make them do and all of this crazy shit. This guy that had picked up the alien died.
Yeah, he got sick.
He like his whole
which
immune
is another
system,
motif throughout history.
His whole immune system
with these encounters,
and he died of a general infection.
Yeah,
and like they wouldn't release the medical records and like all of these like really weird things around it and stuff. So like that happened in 1996 in fucking Brazil, and then like it was said within it that the U.S. Air Force came and fucking took all of that shit away back to America, and then it was all buried and like gone.
Well, not to mention that also we also had our own Roswell incident here in the UK as well. Almost it's kind of ish.
It wasn't like a
Roswell-ish,
crash,
Roswell adjacent.
It wasn't like quite a crash site, but it was essentially a place called Rendlesham Forest. And
we should go there. It would be fun.
Yeah, there's like a little monument to where it happened and stuff. Yeah. It's pretty cute.
Mystic in the Machine field trip to Rendlesham Forest.
But it basically this guy had seen like lights within the forest, and he was an American army person at Rendlesham Forest at the time. They were hosting nuclear weapons that were in transit or something along those lines, and he reached out and like touched this craft, and then kind of fucking like blacked out or something, and all records were like kind of dismissed, hushed, whatever. But he has suffered like medical problems ever since.
Yeah.
And the way that this has actually been coming out now is that it's extended past its like time where he can publicly talk about it, and he's trying to pursue like medical compensation.
Well, Young talk, because there's a lot of there's
like
a lot
workers'
of
compensation.
There's a lot of stories about people falling ill or getting gravely ill or having reoccurring illnesses after encounters with these otherworldly beings throughout history. And Jung sort of talks about it as like an encounter with something that we perceive as so other, something that the ego perceives as so other, how it has this sort of almost physiological like effect on us almost, which I think is really interesting. But yeah, do we have any more, because we're running out of time, do we have any more video that we want to show? And then we should look at the comments.
There's no more video, but to back up your little what was it, the around nuclear stuff, this is the most talked about one. If you wanted to read about it, this is a good one around Maelstrom Air Force Base, where essentially an orange orb was hovering over Maelstrom Air Force Base, which is like a place where they hosted really powerful ICBM, like nuclear weapons. All of the guards above the ground could see this huge glowing, pulsating orb, orange orb, like up above the base, and like rang down to the captain, and were freaked out. And he was like, nah, just make sure, this sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Make sure it doesn't come into the perimeter.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God.
How the fuck are they going to make sure that thing doesn't do whatever the fuck it wants?
Oh my God.
That's insane. And then like they rang back 5 minutes later, completely fucking freaked out. Just like, no, dude, this is like, it's shutting off our systems, like it's like doing stuff to the fucking nukes and everything. And it put it in like a complete shutdown mode. And to this day, like they still hadn't figured out like how it was able to do that. They weren't able to get the nukes back online until like 24 hours later and stuff like this. So like that was a huge case that was kind of ignored by the last UFO hearing. It's quite a big viral clip from there where this guy was like quite aggressively talking about it to them, and they were sort of like, oh no, we don't have that information, don't know mate. I'm just like, oh my God, how the fuck do you not know about that one, mate? Everyone, that's like huge.
Well, yeah, we're running out of time, so let's quickly read some comments and see. So someone asks, thank you all for coming, by the way. We really appreciate it. Someone asks, they can't find the Discord. They said they looked in the Patreon and they can't find it. It should be there. If you're on the Mystic in the Machine Patreon, not the Angie one, you should be able to find a link to the Patreon, but I'll post another one just in case. Or just like DM me on Twitter or somewhere, and like I'll send it to you. Someone said, Steven, alien tech made me all ripped. Greer.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe that's his secret.
Maybe that is his secret, because he really is pretty fucking
He's got the
ripped.
life extension technology.
Maybe
straight
he does.
From the aliens.
Maybe he is part of the breakaway civilization.
Oh, and he's just like feeling guilty about it.
So he's
trying
just
to, like,
trolling
warn
us. He's controlling us, and that's why he's so he's like 80 years old or something.
He's 65. He's not that old.
Well, whatever. But look at his body. He's like fucking ripped. Like, it's crazy.
He's in shape. He's just an in shape older guy. He's, you know.
George says OnlyFans, but it's just Angie petting a cat and reading Jung. I would do that for you if you paid me. If we could agree a rate.
Oh my God.
Alex Jones warned about the Pentagon letting 9/11 happen a month and a half early.
He did.
He'll forever have my respect.
He did in fact do that. No one can take that away from him. Like, he 100% did that.
George said the explosion gave birth to Bob, the source of all evil in the TP verse. Yes, I know. It was It gave birth to Jal Day, who then gave birth to Bob. And yeah, Twin Peaks: The Return it's just so good. Like it's just
all of Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
sick.
all of Twin Peaks is just good. It's just so fucking good. It's like literally an urtext for like our current moment. Like fucking watch it. Sorry. Someone said the explosion. Waiting for Jake to bring up Dyson sphere theory.
Well,
what
yeah,
the hell is that?
So that's to do with like.
How do you know what that is?
It's to do with like that. I briefly mentioned it, I think, if I'm thinking it's the right thing. That is being able to harness the power of a sun. That's what a Dyson sphere is. I'm almost 100% sure.
Yeah.
Unless I'm getting... I've lost sci-fi nerd cred if I've gotten that wrong. I'm pretty sure that is what it is.
If we cut out, then goodbye, but I'm just going to keep going.
We'll be all right, don't worry.
Okay.
It'll be fine.
All right. Azathoth, the blind idiot god. Oh, yeah, that's who it is. Sorry, I kept forgetting the name of God. So it's Azathoth. I kept saying Yog-Sothoth. Sorry, my bad. And it said, Bloodborne mythos heavily influenced by this, and Berserk. Bloodborne, Jake, I think you tried to play it but didn't like it because you thought it was too sweater. It
is the predecessor to the Dark Souls games, and so I've not played it. But
Jake
if
doesn't
it's
like
not, if it's
any
like
sort of like
if it's like
turn-based
not as
skill, like
no, that's not fucking true.
It is true.
If it's like not as sweaty,
you don't
as
like
fucking
anything
Dark
that
Souls.
you lose. Like when we played Breath of the Wild, you rage quit so much whenever we had to face bosses.
Dude, that shit fucked me off so much.
You're not the type that will patiently
so annoying.
sit and like fight a boss.
No,
you'll rage quit after like 3 tries.
Times, yeah.
Bloodborne is not for Jake.
Time.
The Dark Souls games not for Jake.
Don't enjoy them.
He's not into
good.
it. He's not into it.
It's funny.
Berserk though, it looks cool, and I really want to watch it, but Jake says he doesn't want to.
We can
but I can't really see myself watching it by myself though.
It's okay.
But I've seen like scenes from it, like these like really apocalyptic, like dark scenes, and I was just like, this looks fucking cool, like in the same way that Evangelion does. So I was like,
it's okay.
Why don't you like it? What is it?
It just didn't really grab me.
Did you try it?
I did try it when I was in like the heat of my weeb days. Like I tried
before I
it,
rescued you.
And,
before I made you see the light.
I wasn't taken by it. I have been fucking gripped by Vinland Saga. If you enjoy animes of any variety of like the Japanese kind, you should watch Vinland Saga. It is fucking phenomenal. It is like definitely probably the best anime to come out since Attack on Titan, I would say.
Attack on Titan sucks.
There's been Food Wars and other good things like that, but like
Attack on Titan,
a great
sucked.
one that I'm like,
horrible.
oh my god, that's fucking awesome, and I'd recommend that to like whoever the fuck likes anime, like Vinland Saga, 100%.
Oh god. Okay. Let's see. Sorry. The little pink lamb on a granite slab, black chasm creeping forever. Leaking, oh universe, sing in reverse. What? Some poetry.
Spitting poetry in the chat.
Poetry in the chat. Nothing else of note. Someone said Berserk is amazing. I'll give it a try. It looks cool, so I'll give it a try. But I don't know. Where do I start? Someone tell me in the
Season 1,
Discord.
Episode 1.
Well, no, is there a movie I can watch instead of watching
Season
the whole
1, Episode
season?
1. Season 1, Episode 1.
Because I pretty much got everything I needed to get from Evangelion from watching the film. The actual show is good too.
What?
I liked the film.
Bro.
I like the film. I don't know why people
lost so much fucking credit. I can't believe you just
I
said
don't know
that.
why people chat shit on I actually like the film.
Yeah, the
and I
film
like
was
that we
okay.
got to see human instrumentality. That's not to talk shit on the series, but I felt like the human instrumentality was like a lot more impactful visually in the film than it was like, even though it was great what was done in the series. I just like the thing.
Bro. You just
all right, whatever. I don't
you just
care.
Lost your
this
Evangelion
is why I don't
badge.
like talking to weebs, because I knew I was gonna say something to piss you all off.
I can't
and you know what?
it.
I don't fucking care at the end of the day. I'm not trying to appeal to any of you fucking
series of
weird
Evangelion,
freaks.
Angie,
Okay,
is like way better than just the film.
I
can't believe you would just say the film was all you need.
I didn't say the film is like all you need, but I said that if you saw the film, it's not like you'd be like
got the
completely
gist.
bereft.
You didn't get fucking the whole package. You'd have got the gist.
Whatever, guys. We should do a whole episode debating this at some point.
Unbelievable. What, debating the end of Evangelion versus the series of Evangelion?
Yeah.
That is the ultimate weeb fucking stream. We need to like get that stream
I don't want to
straight
do
to
that.
Japan.
I don't want to attract kind of audience, number one. And no, it will never happen. Number 2. But thank you guys for coming. We had a lot of fun. Hope we've given you a lot of food for thought as well. And yeah, take a look at the book recommendations. Come join us in Patreon for book club.
End of the day.
And catch us not next week because Jake's traveling.
Yeah.
But the following week, hopefully. If he doesn't travel again, we'll have to see.
You think you know what reality is, mate, but just be open because none of us really fucking know.
No one knows.
There's all sorts of like hidden mysteries and secrets that like could completely fucking shatter everything else before AI does. That would be nice. Before we all lose our jobs, I'd like to disclosure
needs to happen. Basically,
find out some fun